64 bits. You'd murder. Okay, so that was my piss poor attempt at doing a Atari Jaguar trailer, but hey, it's early in the morning when I'm recording this, because I want to get this video done before going Christmas shopping, so here we go. Hi guys, it's Jared here, the Blind Gamer, and today we're going to be talking about something that's reached the retro community over the last couple of days. I've seen quite a few videos about it and I want to check it out for myself, which is Atari Jaguar emulation. Now, apparently the Atari Jaguar has been notoriously difficult to emulate, and attempts in the past have resulted in games having low frame rates, being unplayable, some ROMs not launching, etc, etc. Now, the Atari Jaguar was the last console outing of Atari, which were massively famous in the 80s with consoles such as the Atari 2600, which was released in 1977, the Atari 5200 was released in 1982, the Atari 7800 was released in 1986, and the Atari XEGS, which was released in 1987, and obviously the Atari Lynx handheld. Now, if you were growing up in my generation of gaming, it's around the time of like Sega and Nintendo, we knew who Atari was. It was one of them where, you know, it was a generation before us in the 80s basically, and we probably played the odd 2600 game, or the odd 5200 game, or the odd 7800 game. So the release of the Atari Jaguar, which was something that had a lot of media and fan appeal around 1993, and especially the fact that they were advertising it as being 64-bit. At this time, we were becoming aware of some 32-bit consoles. The Amiga 1200 was claiming to be 32-bit. The CD32 was claiming to be 32-bit. And you had consoles such as the 3DO as well, which were claiming to be sort of 32-bit. And Sega were obviously releasing the 32X and the Sega CD. Now, these consoles were not as powerful as the Sega Saturn and Sony PlayStation that would basically come out just a year or two later. But they did have some impressive games, and we're going to take a look at some of these games today. Sadly, the Atari Jaguar failed because of a number of reasons. It was actually not 64-bit, it was actually like 3 32-bit chips. So like developing for the console was like developing for 3 32-bit consoles, like 3 separate consoles, and apparently developer support wasn't really forthcoming from Atari. And by the time I think developers really got on board with it, the Sony PlayStation and Sega Saturn were just coming down the pipeline and were much easier. So I think Atari kind of missed the boat there. But I think it'd be fun to actually go back and see these. Now, Atari consoles were very, very rare. I think there's like only 150,000 odd sold worldwide because they were massively expensive, and a lot of them didn't really survive. There's quite a history of Atari Jaguar consoles not actually working or not surviving the test of time. So this, I think, is quite a milestone. Now, Rich Whitehouse, who is the producer of this emulator, it's called bigPEmu, has basically undergone some, what must have been massively painstaking work to not only develop a very clean, very nice emulator that emulates all of the Jaguar games, but it's got a wonderfully simple and beautiful interface as well with it. So in this video, I'm going to show you how to download it, how to integrate it with LAUNCHBOX, and let's play some games. So first of all, we're going to go to Rich Whitehouse's website here, and as you can see, this is some of the development. Gives a little bit of background on his page about the development. He also got a YouTube channel. I will leave the link for the YouTube channel in the description below. Background on how the emulator works, etc. on his own YouTube channel. Let me know in the comment section below if you try this. There's a little nugget he's left for Christmas as part of the emulator, and when I saw it, I was absolutely hysterical. It was so funny that he'd left something like a little sort of Easter egg as part of the emulator. I thought it was really, really funny. So he's basically saying it supports near enough all the ROMs. I could say that most of the ROMs that I've tried, I think there's one I had an issue with, which was the controller. But he's basically saying full compatibility, it's fast, it's accurate, it's successive presentation, extra device support, glorious shaders, native HDR support, pre-game profiles, manipulated time, and plugins. Be honest with you guys, like a lot of that stuff I haven't really used, but out of the box, you know, I was so surprised with how this worked. So to download it, basically go to the bottom of the page, or actually just at the top. There's a download link at the top, and there's one at the bottom. Now it might take you to a secondary page. What you're looking for is the zip file. So you download the zip file and put that into if you've got like a designated emulators folder, or you can put that on your PC wherever you want to install it, basically. Extract the zip file into whatever emulators folder that you want to do that to. So I'm using LAUNCHBOX, so I'm basically extracting mine into my LAUNCHBOX emulators folder. And basically what you need when you open that folder, what you need is the executable file. Now you can basically just open it up. And literally, if you have, like I've got a folder, I've got some ROMs here in the folder that I'm going to try. You can literally open up the emulator, and literally right out of the box it works. One of the things I did try, because I was following along with another video, was the input mapping. Now I'm using an Xbox One controller connected to my PC. And basically, it was already mapped. It worked straight out of the box. I actually messed things up and had to reset the settings because I didn't realize it was already mapped. There are the keypad, because the Atari Jaguar controller is giant and has like about 70 million buttons. The keypad underneath on the controller is mapped to my keypad on my keyboard, but there's also like combinations of buttons on my Xbox controller which will do the same thing. So that's all basically been set up for me, which I thought was absolutely amazing. If you want to do integrate this into LAUNCHBOX, now if you guys want me to do some setup tutorials for LAUNCHBOX and RetroArch and things like that, let me know in the comment section below. I'm quite happy to do this. Now, what I would do first is open LAUNCHBOX, and I'll go to the menu at the top, go to Tools, then go to Manage, then go to Emulators. Now, first of all, I tried just importing the games and using the wizard, which normally works fine. The LAUNCHBOX wizard is extremely intuitive, but I kept getting this error message that was confusing the 3DO and the Jaguar. So I went to Tools, Manage, Emulators, added an emulator, basically put in as bigPEmu into the emulator name. Then you got the application path. Now this is where I said basically you need to know where the exe file is, and you just basically open that within. You click the browse, you basically go to your emulators, and you click that path. And then I clicked OK, and it says please enter an attribution path, associated platform, sorry. So it then dawned on me, oh yes, I need to make sure that this emulator has associated platforms. So I click associated platforms on the left hand side of the menu on the left, and under associated platform I just wrote in Atari Jaguar. You could have picked it from the list. I just wrote it because it was being a little bit weird. Click OK, and then click close. Right, now you want to add your games. You go to your ROMs folder, highlight your ROMs. Now my ROMs folder is here. Highlight all the ROMs, drag them into LAUNCHBOX. Now you can go through the wizard. So you click add ROMs, Atari Jaguar. It'll default to RetroArch, but then as you can see, bigPEmu is going to be added into the wizard. Keep it where it is, and then just go through the settings as you normally would. Do you want to download the box art, etc., etc.? Yes, I do. Do you want to use the EMU Movies connection? Yes, I do. And there's basically a couple of options here. Just select the ones that you need. I just basically go for load PDF manual and combine ROMs that I've got doublers of. And it'll basically list the ROMs it's going to add into LAUNCHBOX here. And then you just basically click next. And as you can see, over the next sort of couple of minutes, LAUNCHBOX will do its thing. And once that's done, you can see on the left-hand side you have a new category, which is Atari Jaguar. And the box art and things will populate. I absolutely love LAUNCHBOX. Now, I am a sucker for clutter. I love having my retro sort of gaming collection. I'm not a person who'd have like a big games room because I can't stand mess. I can't. I'm not that organised. So having everything on a computer where I can access it all in one place, LAUNCHBOX is amazing for me. I use it for all my PC games. I use it for everything gaming related on my PC. It is a fantastic little piece of software, and I can't recommend it enough. If you guys want me to do some LAUNCHBOX tutorials, please let me know. So let's take a look at some Jaguar games. Just going to take a few seconds to say to you guys, thank you for watching this video. If you do like this video, please give it a thumbs up. And if you fancy it, subscribe to the channel. I will be updating more videos more regularly, hopefully on a weekly basis, maybe multiple times per week, but definitely on a weekly basis. And you can click that little bell to get notified when I do upload the next video. I'm going to breeze through these guys. I'm not going to give too much sort of insight and detail because I haven't really had a chance to play a lot of them. This is literally my initial reaction. This is my first time ever interacting with a Jaguar system. So first off, let's go with Doom. Okay, it's pretty much standard Doom. It controls really well. I found that the controls to be a little sensitive at times, but to be honest, it controls okay. I actually put this on a really difficult setting, so I'm getting my ass kicked. But yeah, it's Doom. It's probably one of the best versions, I would have said, for an older console. Obviously the best version on the PC. You know, for its time, it probably would have been one of the best versions of Doom on a console. It's the only thing that it could have done with is the music. I don't see why they didn't put the music in there, because the music really would have just added that little bit extra. And I think what's made it from, like, you know, a B rating game, it would have put it up to an A rating game, to be perfectly honest with you. But it runs really, really well, fantastically actually. I was really surprised just how fast it was, how responsive it was. It was a little too responsive for me. But, you know, beggars can't be choosers, and, you know, I can't complain about that, to be perfectly honest with you. But yeah, it was Doom. I could have a great deal of fun with this. It felt like Doom, walks like Doom, smells like Doom. It is Doom. Right, let's check out Rayman. Now, I've played Rayman on the PS1. I used to own, I think I bought it a while back on the PS1 when years ago. And it was one of those games that I kind of probably bought like at a 3 for 20 quid sale or something and just never got into. And this was the original system I believe Rayman came out on. And you can tell. Now, perhaps this is me just being a little bit sort of weird with like my gaming likes and dislikes, but to be perfectly honest with you, this is the first time I've played Rayman in a long time and actually got along with it. Initially, I found it very irritating, especially with like some of the jumps. I found like I'm still finding I'm missing jumps, etc., because I'm not seeing or judging distances properly because of my eyesight. But this actually didn't feel as punishing as I remember Rayman being in the past. Perhaps my skill levels increased or something, I don't know. But as a game, it's good fun. You know, it's a side-scrolling platformer. I don't think you could have really run it this well on the Amiga 1200, to be honest with you. You know, this is probably early 32-bit gameplay, and the graphics are absolutely beautiful, and I would probably say it's one of the best games on the Jaguar system.
Three, two, one, go! Left, right, mid left, tighten. 40.
Power Drive Rally. Let's have a look at this. So basically this is a rally game. I decided to go for the Mini Cooper. Now, we know how notoriously bad I am at driving games, especially if they're 3D or top-down. Well, certain driving games. I get along with some better than others. I might do a video on driving games soon. And I've got a Master System video coming up, actually. And the Master System driving games I really did get along with. This is pants. The controls are awful. I didn't quite know what I was doing or where I was going. The graphics are serviceable, but nothing really you wouldn't see maybe like on an Amiga 1200 or like a Sega CD. It's okay, but to be perfectly honest with you, it was bland. I won't be picking this up again. So yeah, I not one I can recommend. There are better racing games on the platform. Not by much, but there are better.
Tonight's matchup: Lakers versus Bullets. Here's the tip. Shady.
NBA Jam. Now, basically, I found this to be may as well have been a port of the Genesis version, maybe like the Sega CD32 or Sega CD version. It's NBA Jam, so it's still as fun as NBA Jam has always been. I always find, like for me, it's one of those games, a bit like the football games I discussed in my blind football video. It's one of those games that I don't really get or I find quite hard because the action is so fast, but I still have a great deal of fun playing, and I can still sort of get along with it then, if that makes sense. But it's still fun. This is basically, to be perfectly honest with you, a little bit of a step up from a 16-bit. I like the way the shadows reflect on the basketball court. I think that's really cool. Like you get a reflection of the lights, etc. So you can see there's some sort of 32-bit elements been added into it, but to be perfectly honest with you, it doesn't really play much different to the 16-bit versions of the game. But yeah, so it's okay.
One minute to go.
Up two.
Now, this is actually my first ever time playing Wolfenstein 3D. I've played other Wolfenstein games, like the Xbox iterations, etc. This is my first time actually playing it on any platform. And no, I think I played it on the PC once. It's definitely it's definitely my first time sort of in depth playing it. I want to sit down for an hour and I want to go like. And it runs perfectly fine. It's a nice representation of Wolfenstein. Alien vs Predator. Now apparently there was a lot of buzz about this game when it came out. Oh my god, this is so sluggish. Now, I actually found this game gave me nausea. I could only play it for... There was nothing to do with the emulation. The emulation is fine. It plays as I imagine the game should play. Perhaps I could tweak certain bits of the emulator, to make it slightly easier on the eye. But, I think this is how the game was originally intended to be played, and it's so clunky, it's so slow, and to be perfectly honest, there's no excuse. When you have games like Gloom on the Amiga 1200, which run a lot faster than this, that look a lot better than this, even though they are a substandard Doom clone, there's no real excuse why this should have been a lot better than it was. I know Alien vs Predator did come out in different platforms, but I'm not sure if it was the same type of game. On here, I just found it's made me feel seasick, to be honest with you. So perhaps it's just a personal reaction to the game. I really didn't enjoy this one. Brutal Sports Football. Now, I remember this coming out on the Amiga. I remember me and my brother looking in Amiga magazines and going, this is going to be awesome. And sadly, it wasn't. It's kind of a cross between British football and American football, in the sense of like the field is laid out like American football, but the actual goals themselves are more like sort of British football, and the ball is more like a British football. It's a game that, to be perfectly honest, sounds better in concept than it is in actual execution. Now, I like the arcadey style. I think it could have done with being a bit more faster and a bit more intuitive, but I can imagine it being actually quite fun in 2-player. I can imagine. I think actually back in the day we played this 2-player on the Amiga 1200, but like the graphics are nowhere different to like an Amiga 1200 game. But as a game, the gameplay itself, I thought it's okay. It is fun. It is fun, and I can imagine, especially sort of having a bit of couch co-op, we could have a bit of fun with this. Is it a game I would come back to and play through? Yeah, not really, because it doesn't have the longevity. It doesn't have anything in it to keep me. Once I've experienced the factor, like I can be brutal while I was playing football and sort of, power slam people to get the ball and that sort of thing. It doesn't really give me anything else. I can play like a league. There's different like sort of gameplay options as part of the game, but to be perfectly honest, I love how this is more of like an arcade experience then, if that makes sense, where you would play it maybe for like 20 minutes while you're waiting for like your food to cook or something, or when you've got a bit of spare time. It's a game I think I could work perfectly on a handheld. But as it goes as a longevity type of game, or a game I'd come back to, it hasn't got the last ability, but it's still a reasonably fun game. It's still a reasonably fun game, and I liked the ball dynamics. I like the fact that you can have weapons in this thing. Maybe I should explore it a little bit further. Yeah, I think I have to take a bit of time with this one to see if I actually do enjoy it more. Enjoy it more.
Ready, set, go!
Super Burnout. Now, a lot of people didn't really get along with this game. I actually think it shows a lot of what the Jaguar is actually capable of. This is more closer to a PlayStation 1 racer than it is, a Sega Mega Drive racer. The graphics are kind of a mix between 2 and 3D. Obviously, your main model is 3D. I do find that the dynamics, the controls, etc., can be a bit punishing. I am firmly planted in last place throughout this race, and because I find the corners like really, really hard to take. Like, braking is not a thing in this game. You will hit like corners like 200 miles an hour, and it's like you're gonna come off your bike. But to be perfectly honest with you, I think with a bit of perseverance, I want to be kind and say like this could be a game I could get into a bit more. Like, if I only had a Jaguar back in the day, I probably would spend some time with this and get reasonably decent at it. There is certainly a lot worse out there. Gotham City Racer, anyone? And obviously that came out after this, so as a demonstration of what a 32-bit game could be like, I do think this sets a good example. I just think if they refined the controls a little bit more, they could have really sort of had something with this. But I can imagine like if this was on a different system, this getting a sequel and the sequel actually being really good, if that makes sense. A bit like like the SmackDown games, where the first SmackDown wasn't really the best, but it was like literally the starting point for something that ended up being absolutely awesome. So I don't want to be too hard on this game. As you can tell, I am being lapped right now, but again, it's one of those games I didn't feel like it was that hard that I couldn't come back and maybe spend a bit of time with it and get better at it, as you know, after a while, like, if that makes sense. So yeah, that was a bit of a tour of the Atari Jaguar. Thank you to Rich Whitehouse for creating this emulator for allowing us to experience this console. And you know, having this experience, I think it's fun, and it's a way of preserving these games that would not have been preserved. Like, obviously certain games like Wolfenstein, Doom, and like would have been sort of preserved because they have been ported to other platforms, and you basically can play them still on Xbox these days. But other, you know, some of the other games like your Super Burnout, your Brutal Sports Football and things like that, you know, these are games that I remember from back in the day. I played these on the Amiga and other consoles back in the day, and I had great fun with them. It's been great to actually go back and relive these. So just want to say a personal thank you to Rich Whitehouse. Guys, I'll put the link to his website, the emulator, and his YouTube channel in the description below. Go over, send him some love. Thank you very much for joining me on this video. I love you all, guys. Take care.